Happy Wednesday. That means it's hump day. Hump day is such a good day. It means that we're so much closer to the weekend. And I don't know why I keep saying that like every hump day because it really doesn't mean much for us here. So last night, first four, March Madness. I was talking about March Madness in the other video there at the beginning of the week. And man, filled out our brackets. So crazy excited. Two great games. Two really good games. Texas Southern, congratulations, boys. And Indiana, Hoosier basketball. My goodness gracious. What a great game. Really wonderful to see these guys just getting it done. And man, oh man, I'm just happy that it's back. 1,000 days. I know that the one tournament was canceled. Last year was a bit of a attempt to make the tournament happen, and I'm grateful for that. But this really feels like March Madness is back, and it makes me feel like the world is coming back, and I'm so grateful for that. So happy day in our home. Anyways, step 9. I don't even have a talking point written down for this. As far as the book is concerned, it's definitely one of the shorter chapters as far as writing, and the book itself mostly highlights the caution that we need to take. And I'm hoping that as we go through here, you're reading the book, because that's what I'm doing. I'm reading the book, and then I'm making the video, hitting some talking points. The reason I've been most excited about step 9, it's, oh my goodness, this chair, guys, wow, girls, people, everyone in between, frustrated by the chair. The reason I've been most excited about step 9 is that it was, for me personally, the moment where I absolutely experienced firsthand in real time one of the very valuable lessons that we learn in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, as it's described to us, by those old timers in the chairs, in the language of the books. The experiences as they're described that are potentially going to happen to us happened for me, and I'll explain. So in step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Go to the book. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 9. I'm only going to read the one thing I've highlighted here. Good judgment, a careful sense of timing, courage, and prudence. These are the qualities we shall need when we take step 9. Again, the language as it appears in the book is mostly describing that exact statement. Courage, prudence, good judgment. In steps 4 and 5, we took a look at ourselves. We talked to another person. We certainly pulled out the pen and the paper, and we wrote some stuff down. We brought that willingness that we've been talking about in these videos, and we made a very honest assessment of kind of what got us to the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous, and maybe we learned a few things about those qualities we possess that are going to help us continue going forward in our recovery. Step 6 and 7, we realized that that power that's better than us, the one that used to control us with addictions, that power that we would give up, we could find a brand new power greater than ourselves, and that power has the potential to really affect change in our lives. Step 8, we're pen and paper again, and we're taking an honest assessment again of harm done, people that we have harmed. One of the things I like the best about the language in the book is that it highlights that moment we come into sobriety, into recovery, whatever your chosen path of recovery is. And if you're with me on this, man, and you've experienced it similar to the way I have, then certainly, you hit those first few meetings, those first few days in rehab, The fog starts to clear, maybe the shakes are gone a little bit, the sweats aren't, making you as mental. And you want to run to all of those people, tell mom and dad, hey man, I'm in recovery, I'm doing these great things. You want to, start telling the wife and maybe your husband or the kids or siblings, hey man, I just learned these wonderful things at this meeting. I was just at this wonderful session with my counselor, my therapist and I were talking, and oh my goodness, I just figured out this stuff. And you're just bubbling with that excitement and this newfound knowledge and wisdom, and you want to start sharing this stuff with people. In those moments, that sense of making amends is alive and well. And that's what we're doing here in step 9. Although in step 9, we're coming to that logical place in these steps where, having taken this honest assessment of ourselves and honest assessment of harm done, we're now preparing ourselves to approach the specific people in specific instances and take those steps necessary within ourselves to address the harm that we've done and to accept responsibility for it, whatever that responsibility may be. Again, there are definitely, for each one of us, things that we will find that could legitimately harm others. Extramarital affairs. I mean, these things could damage a third party. If we've been dipping into the company expense account a little bit too much, as is discussed in the book, I mean, that's a real legitimate financial scenario where we could find ourselves in trouble with our employer as well as legal trouble. I mean, there are things that we must consider when we get into steps 8 and 9 specifically, that will have very real consequences. In my own case, I certainly didn't have these kinds of examples to contend with. Any legal issues that I had were behind me. I ended up taking care of a lot of that stuff later on, getting myself a full and complete pardon. There was nothing that large looming over my head. I don't think I ever had the the internal fortitude necessary to even explore an extramarital affair. That was a whole other monster that I don't even think I could have brought myself to consider. So, not to lessen that, but certainly these are not, issues that I had to contend with. So I would be less than honest to even discuss such things. What I had was a lot of generational and familial family damage to contend with. And so I set about, making my lists and doing my inventory. And when the time came, I was fully and completely prepared to make my amends in step 9. Without wanting to name specific, persons or family or friends, I'll simply say that for the most part, everybody that I had to address was very, very welcoming and very thoughtful, very encouraging. A lot of the amends that I had made had been done, much as I had expressed earlier, when newly awake in this program, I was all too excited to share some of the things I was learning and experiencing with those people that I interacted with on a daily basis. There were a few instances certainly where it would have been impossible for me to connect with certain people, so a phone call was the only thing available to me. A letter was the only real issue that stood between me and making said amends, and those were received. In a couple instances, people had passed on, so I couldn't approach them. But through other members of the program, I was able to, work through those moments. But one specific instance stood out among them all, and that was when an individual that I certainly owed an amends to made time to connect with me. This person actually went out of their way to come to my home and sat down with me when I had reached out to them and asked them if we could, sit down and have a conversation. And this person was absolutely willing to come over and hang out. And it was really awkward. Sarah and the kids had, kind of made themselves scarce, and they took off for a walk and left me with the house so I could, connect with this person who was, I thought, very generous in their offer to come over and hang out. Once we sat down at the kitchen table, this person expressed to me with utter shock on their face, almost horror. Oh my God, you're going to do your step 9 with me, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of why I'm here. Whoa, stop right there, and shut me down hard. We're not going to do this. I'm not doing this today. This is not going to happen. Nope, it's not going to happen. No. Very much like that. No explanation, no reason why. No, we'll get back to it later. Just that. And I got a hug, and that was that. The person was gone. To this day, it stands out as one of the most awkward moments in my earliest days of recovery. And understand that I had made a number of attempts, even prior to Sarah, to go to AA meetings, to go to Narcotics Anonymous meetings, to go to rehab centers, to attend therapy sessions. I had tried myriad options and scenarios and institutions, if you will, myriad means of finding my path to recovery up until this point. So this was a returning to Alcoholics Anonymous, coming back to it yet again for yet another try when it finally stuck for me. So these people in my life were very familiar with my attempts to get this right and get this thing, going in the right direction, because I was struggling. So feeling like I had finally landed in a place where I was moving forward, as is discussed by the book, we should only make this attempt when we're steady on that beam, if you will. We're on the beam, we're doing our thing, and we're doing well. That's when we want to approach step 9. It's certainly not something the newcomer is going to undertake, and I certainly didn't. I had, as I say, made many attempts, and this was probably about 9 or 10 months in to my sobriety, having made myriad attempts before. I finally felt very comfortable in my footing. So it really set me back in a big way for a number of weeks to experience that moment. I'm happy to say that I enjoy a very healthy relationship with this person to this day. We've never talked about it since. We've never discussed it. We've never gone back to it. Many times I've wanted to. Many times I've wanted to bring that up. But as is discussed in the book, we're not expected to blather on overly remorseful in these situations. We're not expected to put upon people in these situations. We're expected to make amends and move forward, accepting whatever consequences may be. And this is one of those consequences I think, I have to accept. So I get excited to talk about this step because I get excited to share that experience. I think it's an important one, and I think it's one of those things that stands out unique for me. It's not something I've heard other people share very often. It's kind of a standalone scenario for me. But I think it's important that we expect nothing in these situations. We go into this with a willingness to take ownership for harm done, a willingness to take ownership for our actions. And it's something that I wish for every one of you, every person coming into recovery, that you find yourself in a place where you can take ownership for the person you are, good, bad, indifferent, and walk away with your dignity, with a sense of accomplishment, knowing that whatever the outcome may be, whatever the consequences might be, you've done the right thing, and you've done it to better yourself and become the best version of yourself. Step 10 is coming up, guys, and I'm excited for that one too. I'm going to hit the stop button. I'm going to watch this back and hope that it makes sense. Let's get after it, guys. We're going into the end of this week. March Madness is upon us. Go watch some basketball. It's so much fun. Take care, guys. It works if we work it, one day at a time. I love you all, man, and I'm cheering you on. I'm going to hit this stop button and say take care again, and thanks. Okay, guys. Bye.